I'm Trisha. This is my husband Andy and our dog Bruce. Our daughter Isla is 2.5. She's taking a little nap and she'll join us a little later.
So this is our 28-foot TruForm tiny Coutine. This is the urban finish on this. And after living in the city in Boston, after the birth of our daughter, we decided that we wanted to spend more time with her and less time working. And so a big motivation for going tiny was sort of family time. And we decided no better place than Northern California to be in a tiny space because of all this beautiful outdoor time, even though it's pretty overcast today. So we ended up here in my mom's backyard, the house that I grew up in. And yeah, we're excited to show you guys around today.
So walking in from the deck, this is the main living space here. We have a couch that I think Andy will talk about a little bit more later. And then this is a nook that's bumped off the end of the actual tiny house. We have some great book storage here in the window that we've kind of built in. More books, kid toys. These drawers pull out and are huge. We have all of our daughter's clothes in one of these drawers, and then shoes down here, and then another drawer over there that kind of hides away electronics that we don't use very often. Yeah, so the Nook we use for so many different things. Obviously storage, but during the evenings either I sit here, our daughter sits here, or Andy will sit here. We definitely use it for reading books or watching TV, and then we have lots of storage up on the top too for hats, kid shoes, that kind of thing. This is great for just hanging up jackets. We feel like, walking into a tiny house, or walking into any house, you just need somewhere to put your stuff, and this is a really easy way for us to kind of keep our shoes and bags and jackets organized too. The benefit of having the Nook is we don't just have one sitting space. So we have our couch, but we also have that. So it just makes it easier to kind of play together as a family, but also to have friends over. There's just a lot more seating and a lot more area for people to relax and watch TV or read books or anything like that. So this is just a metal 3-tier cart. We have a bunch of our daughter's kind of sweatshirts and things on the bottom. We used to keep diapers there. Now it's kind of underwear and stuff like that for her. And then lots of books on top and remote control stuff, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's just something that we kind of have moved around the space as we've needed it. And that's where it ended up, a nice little corner spot. And then there's a ladder in the back, a telescoping ladder in the back that we used to get up to the storage loft up there, which we'll show you a bit later.
All right, so moving off of the Nook here that Trisha talked about, that's again 2 feet, that's cantilevered off the back of the 28-foot house. So we're 30 feet overall. This is that living room area. One of the things that we've always really liked is sort of that mid-century modern style furniture, but it also works really well for tiny house living. Part of the reason for that is we have wheel wells. So down in each side from about here to about 6 feet that way, we have the wheel arches from the actual trailer. And that can create a challenge when you're actually furnishing a house. So one of the things that we like is finding furnitures that have these sort of spindly legs. This is a West Elm Tillery couch. These things come up on Craigslist all the time. That's where we found this one. This thing, one of the things I've done here is added 2x6s underneath it, screwed those into the frame, and then that's allowed me to basically lift it by just under 2 inches. You can also often on Etsy find longer legs that screw into that standard fitting. So by doing that, I've put 3 legs on here, and then that back corner actually sits on the wheel well. So we removed the leg off of this couch. That's allowed us to sort of adapt it to that space. But we also removed the legs completely off of the ottoman, added some casters and some old belts. And so we actually have a pull-out ottoman. The kids love this. Bruce gets to sit on there sometimes. It's just added space. So we can see when we bring the TV down, which I'll show you in a minute here, we can actually seat 2 or 3 people there, 2 or 3 people here. Kids can sit down here and we actually have like a movie night, things like that. Tucks away out of sight. You could use that for more storage. Trisha showed you that we have some storage baskets down there. The other beautiful thing about this couch, and which makes it perfect for tiny house living, is that you can rearrange everything. So these cushions are weighted. They come off. You can take them off completely, and now that's a twin size bed. So if somebody's sleeping over and you don't want to empty out the lofts, You can always do it that way. You can also put these back on like that and then seat a few more people this way by opening up the seating space. So it's really flexible, which is perfect for sort of any sort of family life as well as tiny space. This guy we also remove the back legs off of. We have our router as well as our sort of record collection here, but we also use this for storing computers and sunglasses. I store watches in there, general junk drawer, and then we'll have Isla show you this later, but we'll have play kitchen. So this sort of one piece of furniture does it all for us, from plants to hiding Isla's toys underneath. You stash stuff down here to the vacuum under there. Sort of a one piece does it all, but again, took the back legs off. That sits on the wheel wells on that side. So the record player here, we've had this for a while. We've got a cool mix here of my dad's old records as well as more modern stuff. We also have good stuff for the kiddo, like Raffi, some classics. And that's something that we definitely wanted to bring into the tiny house, so we just sort of made the space for it. Rather than having a big setup, we use sort of this Bang & Olufsen Bluetooth speaker that we actually have adapted to work for the record player as well. So that's something where, again, this speaker can go with us when we travel. It can ride in the old Land Rover, which doesn't have any speakers, but it can also play our records off of it here. So that goes out on the deck, stays in here, goes for trips, all of that. So as a bit of a nerd, I like a lot of the smart home tech that's coming out. We've tried integrating some of that in to our home as well. It just makes things sort of easier and more functional for us. So we've got a few different things that we'll talk about. This is a smart speaker with Alexa built in, so that's great for playing music, listening to news. But we've also added some smart sockets so that through the wall fan, we can now control that by voice rather than having to go up and plug it in or out. So we can say, Alexa, turn on the fan. And you'll hear that fan kick on up there. So that's something that's good for just moving air around. This is a Cielo Breeze. This is something I highly recommend for controlling the mini split. These mini splits tend to just use a remote control. By setting this up, you actually have a readout here of the temperature and humidity, and you can control it from here. But it also makes it possible to set up scheduling. So if you're concerned about how much energy you're using, which is great for on the grid or off the grid, you can set up programs so that at 6 in the morning it comes on, and heats up the downstairs before you come downstairs, and then it shuts off at 8, and then it switches to AC in the afternoon time when you know that you're getting heating. So that's something I highly recommend, and that company's been fantastic. Their support and everything, if you have any issues, has been really exceptional. We also have a Roomba vacuum down here, which in a small space that seems kind of crazy, but between the amount of foot traffic that you get in a small space, it's all concentrated. With the big yard, we bring a lot of dirt and things like that in. With the dog, with Isla, there's always oats and rice and dog hair on the floor. So having the Roomba that comes out on its own, and then you can also control that and stop her and send her home using Alexa, that's been fantastic. And then with traveling, it's nice if my mom or someone else needs to get into the house. We have the August Smart Lock. Again, we can control that from our phone. There's a hub that lives down here with the Wi-Fi router, so we can open the door remotely, but we can also actually see if the door's been opened while we're gone or if we left it open. And so that's something when your home's on wheels, it's nice to be able to check in and make sure that you locked things up. And we also have the keypad on the outside, so we could send somebody a code to let them in. That's great as we think about, years down the road, if we want to transition our home to a Airbnb or something like that, or a guest house, we actually have a way of letting people in remotely. So that's something that we've really enjoyed about the way that the house is set up right now. So this is our cubic mini wood stove. I talked about a little bit outside the AC mini split, and we have heat from that. We also have some electric heat in the bathroom. We like our heating and cooling options. We wanted this for ambiance, but obviously having a toddler, not wanting to give up floor space, we wanted to get creative. Cubic actually offers this wall-mounted heat shield vent as an option, so we did that and said let's put it up above the couch. That way even when she's standing up here, she can't actually reach up there and touch it yet. Has a little storage drawer underneath. This is the Grizzly, which is the larger of the stove models. Large is all relative here. As you can see, about the biggest that it would take is one of these like 6-inch logs. This is some kiln dried stuff from Lowe's. It's really great, smells good, lights up really easily. One of those logs is enough to heat the house to about 80 degrees in here. That'll burn through in like 30 minutes or so. So we'll use it in wintertime, but we always have to be ready to open doors and windows because it gets pretty hot in here. All right, so continuing on from the cubic mini wood stove, this is the interior unit for our HVAC, the mini split. And so that's a wall-mounted unit. These things are amazing. In bigger houses, you often see them with different zones. In a tiny house, you really only need one. So that thing's off most of the time. We can control it from the remote, or we've got it set up now to work it from our phones. And that does dehumidifying, it does air conditioning, and it does heating, as well as a few other functions. You can also run it as a fan. So that really effectively cools the space down. The one sort of challenge that we've had is we use our master loft, both for us as well as for our 2.5-year-old. And so we wanted to be able to fully enclose the loft to keep her safe, but also to give us personal time when she's in bed at night or during nap time. And so that does mean that the loft gets a little bit hot and stuffy. So one of the things that we've done, we'll show you this later, is we've added a through-the-wall fan up into that space. So that helps either pull cool air in, or we can flip it around during the summertime and actually pump the hot air back out so that the mini split can deal with that. That's been a challenge that we've sort of had to overcome, but the priority has been safety and sort of private space, which can be hard to find in a tiny house. This is something when we were designing the tiny house, we knew that we wanted a ceiling fan. A lot of the tiny house options that you typically see are the really funny, small looking fan blades. It makes sense for a small space, but they also, when you walk in, can be, wow, that's a really weird looking fan, it's so small. So this is sort of an intermediate. This is the Hunter Vault ceiling fan. This is in the black on black setup. They also have a really nice bronze cage that you can do. We have a wall mounted switch over here. So we've added the light kit to it, so that has a dimmable LED, really efficient power use there. It also has, different fan speeds here. We can switch this around for the winter time to actually blow the warm air down, which again just helps with the efficacy of heating and cooling. But you can see it doesn't overpower the space. When we do have the loft up here to get to our storage space, you still have plenty of clearance, but also you have like the added benefit of feeling like you have this cage around it, so you're not ever gonna be touched by the blades. So it works really well in the space. Hunter's been great to deal with, and it's just a beautiful fan, I think, that really works well and complements the other fixtures that we have in here. So over here above, like the sort of media console, we have sort of our junk shelf, right? So we have our keys here, wallets, all that kind of stuff. But we also use this as sort of like a media hub. So there's a hole here that actually goes up to the TV and gives access down here for like Blu-ray player and some tech. We could also run a cable in if you're ever in like an RV park or something. We have the jack outside there, so you could run utilities in that way. But we mounted our TV up here. Trisha told me when we decided that we were going to go tiny that I could keep the big TV if I could figure out a way that it was not in plain sight all the time. So we came up with this wall mount that's tied into a stud here. But if you're down here in the kitchen doing dishes, you can always swing that around that way. But obviously when we're over here having family time, it pivots this way. And so from this way, sitting in the nook, sitting on the couch, you have a good angle there. So it's really nice to have a 50-inch TV like this that can then get out of the way easily and sort of very lightly move out of the way. So that's been fantastic. We've only been in the one spot. I think the thing that I would do is, you can see there are actually some hooks up there. Those are for securing the fan. And so I'd probably do something similar to that, add additional hooks where we can just bring it down or take some weight off of it. It's also pretty easy to pull down. You can just take one pin out and pull it off the wall.
So moving over to the kitchen, we have a really great open space. We have the whole back area here and then this L shape, and we use this mainly for eating, but our daughter Isla also uses it for painting, just doing lots of playing up here. So we have the 2 chairs here, a booster seat now for our daughter in here, and this pulls all the way out, pulls out even further than that. So we can eat here, and then we also recently mounted this roll of paper so that we can pull that out, and Isla can color and draw in there. Super easy way to get her set up and be able to do whatever she wants there. And then we also just added this leaf, and we have a couple stools here so that we can all sit and eat together here, and then also have a guest come and eat with us too, and be able to sit down and all sit at the counter together. So we love the setup of this kitchen. We feel like mean, we have more space in this kitchen for, you know, prepping meals, for eating together than we did in our apartment in Boston. So that is a major plus. And just the way that things are laid out in the kitchen is a lot more functional than in an apartment, or at least our apartment. So, and then the storage, we have a ton more storage in here than we did in our apartment. So storage wise, we have a big cabinet here that actually goes all the way through. So we have, you know, just general kitchen linens here. And then also our Instant Pot is stored down here, which we actually use quite a bit. And then on the other side, we have a bunch of art supplies for our daughter. So this space is huge. It stores a lot of stuff. Silverware, and then a big cabinet underneath the sink here that has garbage, recycling, and then lots of cleaning supplies. And we have locks on the inside of all of these so that our daughter doesn't get in them, but then whenever we do move the tiny house, they'll be secure that way. And then we have a huge closet here. We have a large closet bar in the back there. So we have a lot of clothes hanging there, and then jackets, and then a ton of hooks here just for jackets that we're currently using, bags that we're using, grocery bags, that sort of thing. So there's tons of stuff stored in there. We also have a vacuum that's mounted in here that's charging in there, and it's tucked away so we can grab it whenever we need it. So this is a Ruvati sink, and it's huge. When we moved in, our daughter was still a baby, so we were still giving her sink baths. So we wanted something big for that, and also just because it's nice to have a big sink to throw a bunch of dishes in and be able to, you know, wash them or leave them and not see them for a little while. So yeah, we love the sink. There's a sort of drain dish here. We've just stuck our Boone thing in here for drying other kids' stuff. And then there's also a cutting board that goes on top here. So this is really like a multifunctional sink and has worked really well for us. The sink is amazing. It, you know, comes out of here and can kind of go everywhere. Water-wise, you saw the Camco filter outside, and then we also have an under sink filter, a Woder filter. And so the Woder water filter doesn't actually limit our on-demand water heater, so it only is working when we're using cold water. So it's been great because now we can, you know, have safe drinking water out of this faucet, as well as it just being, you know, our go-to kitchen sink faucet. So this is, their fruit basket is from Amazon, and everyone always comments on it because it just looks lovely and it holds so much, and it's up and out of the way, not taking up counter space. So yeah, we love that. We compost in the kitchen. We collect all of our scraps, and then we have a large green waste bin that gets collected. Yeah, it's a great way of kind of reducing waste and that sort of thing. The dishwasher is small but mighty. It works really well for us. As a family of 3, we can fit in a day, maybe even 2 days worth of dishes. So yeah, it's really all we need. It's efficient, it works really well, and the only downside is that large dinner plates don't fit in it, so we wash those by hand, but that's not an issue really. It works great for us. More storage, we have all of these drawers down on the bottom that all pull out and just have so much space. So down here we have all of the pots and pans that we need. We really kind of edited down the pots and pans that we had when we moved in and kind of replaced them more frequently because they get a lot more wear, but they work great for us. Dickinson Mediterranean stove. So it's made for boats, I think. It has 3 burners, and this cutting board covers up the burners, which is amazing. So again, multi-purpose space. We use this cutting board all the time, and we also use the burners all the time. We just lift it up and move it over here. So yep, we have a large burner and then 2 smaller ones. We haven't actually fit 3 things on the stove at the same time, but doing 2 is really all we've needed, so it's worked great for us. The oven is okay. It's not the greatest oven. I mean, it'll cook things, but it's not great for baking, I've learned. But I don't think the temperature is accurate, and it's just uneven, and it kind of burned things on the bottom before it's cooked through. Something we've talked about is adding a pizza stone or something to dissipate the heat a little more and just more evenly cook things. This is another great built-in that TruForm did for us, which is lovely spice rack. So These store all of our spices, and they're tucked away and very neatly organized, which I appreciate. And then another one down on the bottom for cooking oils and things like that. Yeah, as far as the overall setup of the kitchen, I feel like it flows really well. There's plenty of workspace. I can throw things right into the sink or the dishwasher when I'm prepping meals or cleaning up. So yeah, it just works really well for us. We also have a coffee bar over here that Andy will talk a little bit more about because that is his favorite part of the house, I think.
All right, so one of the big deviations that we did from a typical Coutine TruForm design or layout is typically, I think on their model, the front door would be here. So you would enter in and like the refrigerator would maybe be on this side with the pantry here. We really wanted a coffee bar, which is turned into like a beverage bar. And so we did the French doors down there. And then that gave us this extra counter space here, which we really love. You get a lot of light coming in through over the stairs. We have our espresso machine here, as well as like our Chemex and our pour over, stovetop espresso, our AeroPress. We've got basically everything that you could need to make a good cup of coffee in here. And then we also realized that we were consuming way too much sparkling water, as a lot of people do, and we felt bad about the volume of cans and cardboard that we were going through. So we actually added just a second-hand soda stream here, and we really love this thing. And by getting like the nicer KitchenAid just housing, it sort of blends in with the other things that we have, and then obviously our blender as well. The microwave, we try not to use it too much. With a kid, that's sort of impossible. So we actually just stuck that down below. We have this nice little Breville microwave. And then we also have a lot of booze and other things storage down here. So this is our coffee bar slash full bar. So scotch, wine, all that good stuff down there. And then again, we've tried to prioritize low drawer spaces for our daughter. So she has things down here that she can get to herself when she wants a cup or a bowl for snacks. And then also, of course, her fridge magnets and chalk for the door over here hang out down here. This is just like a pretty low cost, Energy Star rated Magic Chef refrigerator. This was one of the standard refrigerator options from TruForm. You can also do sort of like a propane or a dual powered if you're going to be off grid or traveling quite a bit. For us being plugged in, this works really well. The thing that I love about it, which I feel like more refrigerators should be in tiny houses, having the freezer on the bottom. So it's a really nice working height to get into the refrigerator, and then you got your beer storage, that kind of stuff. So this works really well, good size for a family of 3 living in a house like this. And then the freezer space down below. And then obviously again, these big toe kick storage underneath here, which lets a massive drawer. And then you still have usable space up here. So we have like our waffle maker and our large Dutch oven, as well as like big serving bowls and things like that. So again, just storage everywhere. And then from here we flow on into the bathroom, which Trisha's going to talk about.
So this is the bathroom. It's 5 feet. We have a large shower on this side. The shower itself is beautiful, but we also wanted a tub for our daughter. So we actually just got a stock tank and have painted it a little bit with, I think, marine grade paint or something like that. And it works great for us. We have it sitting on some teak tiles, so it's kind of lifted up a little bit, and it then isn't ruining our nice tile underneath of there. So, you know, at some point we'll kind of be done with the tub so we can take it out and just have our nice shower again. We put in some towel racks up top here so that our towels are stored sort of out of the way, but are obviously easy to grab when we're getting out of the shower. We have the separate composting toilet. It works fine for us. It definitely is less smelly than we expected it to be. I think urine's been the grossest thing, even though it does divert into our gray water. It's still, because it's a plastic toilet, we clean it all the time, but it still just tends to smell sometimes, which is kind of something that we have trying to figure out with Separate. They've made some suggestions as to kind of improve that. And it wasn't until the last couple months that we really noticed it. So something that we've added to just rinse urine down is we've repurposed our diaper sprayer here. This is something we used when we were cloth diapering, and it's just basically a little nozzle, and you can just rinse the urine down. So that definitely has helped prevent that buildup of smell. We take the solid waste out usually every week. It's just something that we like to get out of the house, and so that's what we do. We also have our daughter's little potty here, which will live there for a bit longer. The separate does come with a kid seat, but we just haven't transitioned to that yet, so she's still using her tiny potty. So something that's great about how our builders TruForm designed the bathroom is they actually added a water hookup, even though we wanted a composting toilet. So if down the road we do want a flushing toilet, we can just add that right in. And that's what we've added the diaper sprayer into right now. Down below we have the water heater is down there, and then there's a propane detector kind of right tucked behind the little potty chair. We have a great storage cabinet here, lots of cleaning supplies. We also store some clothes under there. The sink is not my favorite thing. It's because it's so tall and I'm so short, it's not that functional. And then also for our daughter, we have to pick her up to wash her hands. Any stool would just be in the way and she still wouldn't be able to reach the sink at this point. So that's something that I would have changed about the bathroom. I think we've talked about different ways of reconfiguring the bathroom, but just haven't decided to actually do anything like that. We have a washer dryer combo, LG, and it's worked really well for us. It takes a long time to wash and dry, but it's been pretty great. We tend to do a load a day, and sometimes things stack up if we don't, but it's really been pretty efficient. During the summer, we also will line dry things to kind of save some energy, and it actually dries things faster line drying them. On the back side of this door, there's a full-length mirror, and that's the only spot in the house where we were able to fit that, so it's nice that that tucks away. And then on the front side of this door, we've added some chalkboard wallpaper, so this is a space that our daughter can use to play, but again, just tucks away so that, you know, we don't have to look at it all the time, and it's just really easy to move in and out. So her chalk is right here, so she can just kind of come and do this whenever she wants. And then she also has a bunch of magnets here, so this is a nice little corner that she can use when she wants to, but again, we can just kind of tuck everything away, and then it becomes our space again, or everyone's space. And then she also, down here, has a large drawer of toys that she has always been able to access, but holds a lot, lots of blocks and great toys, and we kind of rotate things out. It's a little bit messy right now, but it's just so nice that she can get to the toys and then also is able to clean them up herself. Well, something that we're working on, but is tucked away so that they're just not sitting out.
So one of the things that Trisha has sort of pointed out with a few of these things in the kitchen area that sort of fits with our broader parenting philosophy that would be true even if we were in a larger house is giving our daughter Isla spaces that are hers, but also that don't take over the entire living space. That's really important when you're in a tiny space where once the kid goes to sleep, or if you're having people over, you still want to look like your home as well, are the hideable spaces. So like the hideable chalkboard, or having, you know, magnets that are hers that she can play on the fridge, but then go away when we want them to go away, and same for the chalk. We've done the same sort of thing with this space with her play kitchen and with these drawers. So again, she has, you know, this space in here, high quality wood toys that if they are out, we still like the way that they look, and they're less likely to make noise, which when you don't have a dedicated playroom, it's nice not to have things that are beeping and making sounds constantly. So that's something that we've tried to give her spaces, but also maintain sort of ownership of the space with like our design elements and things like that. And so we have a lot of storage here in the stairs, including her space, but also our own things. So like from, you know, hidden baskets and things like that. There's a ton of storage here, as well as a closet that Trisha will cover. And then we asked TruForm to close this space in for us, but we still had to do a little bit of modifying ourselves to make it kid-friendly. So we've added sort of these open spaces here, these bars to let light and air move through, but also make it so that she couldn't fall through onto the coffee bar. And then up here, we asked for a square loft because we were living in a place that doesn't have a lot of snowfall or anything like that. We actually maximized headspace, so we have 4 foot of headspace up here, as opposed to the other loft, which you'll see has this peaked roof, which only gives you about 2.5 foot of headspace in the corners. This is a king-size bed turned sideways. We're both short, so we can still all get in here, but still have plenty of room. We've got some large windows on the side and blackout blinds there, as well as a smaller window at the head of the bed. This has been an area that we've really adapted a lot, even though we've always had Isla since we've been in this house. When we first moved in, we had some built-in shelves over there in the sort of nook of this area, and we just didn't like the way the baskets looked. So we got rid of those shelves, and we found this dresser on Craigslist and sort of modified that to fit our style, and that actually fits perfectly in that space. So we lived with it for a while like that, which was super functional. And at that point, Isla was still co-sleeping with us. And then once we decided we wanted to give her her own space, we actually turned it this way and used it as a room divider for a while and put this sweet little toddler bed into that space for her. And then we decided it was just a little bit easier to use if we put it this way. So we've moved this around 3 or 4 different ways now. And so it's nice that you can be in a tiny space and you still can adapt and move things around and sort of play, you know, Tetris with your furniture like you do in a regular house, which some people like Trisha and I, we do that all the time anyways. So you still have that flexibility. But this is our sort of like family bedroom. We have her in her own little area, but she's still a pretty clingy little baby. So she likes to come over and get with us in our bed at like, 4 or 5 a.m. or so. And so she has her own space, but can do that. One of the things that we're trying to sort of introduce to sort of push that time later and later is in here. There's a little light that turns green when it's okay for her to come over to bed. So it's red and makes sound at night. That's a hatch, that's what it's called. And so we can turn that on at nap time or at bedtime, and it glows and makes lights for her. But she knows that she stays in bed until that turns green. So that's something that we've added over there. She sort of has the best spot in the house with this big Velux skylight right overhead. So we can open that up. This is great in the summertime for dumping heat out. Heat gets trapped up here, so we can push it out that way. And then one of the things that I hadn't really seen a lot, but I found, I think on eBay from Europe, is Velux actually offers these insect screens. So that's something I don't see frequently enough over here, but we can have this open in the summertime without letting all the bugs in. And then when this is closed, and at nap time, we can also, this is one of the Velux blackout shades here. So we can shut that down for nap time and close this space off. And then we also hung a pocket door track here and cut down a full-size door. And so we have this sliding door here that she can't quite open, and this other door closes. So we can fully enclose the loft. This is great for nap time with the blackout shades over there to give her a dark, cozy place to sleep. But it also means that at bedtime we can put her down, and then we can actually still have, grown-up time downstairs, watching TV, cleaning up after food, have friends over, that kind of thing. This through-the-wall fan I talked about earlier, that actually helps to move air in and out because it is so closed off up here. And then we've also added some Hunter desk fans over there that by putting in these windows, we can create a cross breeze and really helps cool this space down. So with the king-size bed, that was something we got rid of the mattress that we had when moving cross-country because there was no way of getting it up here. So we ordered a new one on Amazon that had good ratings. One of the intentional decisions we made was going for a 4-inch memory foam mattress. It's delivered vacuum sealed. Let us get it up here before we cut the bag open. Just by going from a 6 to 8 inch mattress down to a 4-inch, you're actually gaining headspace. So if you're worried about being in a loft, by going down to that 4-inch mattress, I still found it really comfortable. Trisha thought it was a little too firm, so we've added a 2-inch mattress topper. It's easy enough to add one of those toppers, but that's a simple way of gaining yourself inches of headspace if you're worried about a loft space, is by minimizing the mattress and then working back up if you need additional softness.
So the second loft we use mostly for storage at this point, and it is something that we could turn into a bedroom for our daughter down the road. We had a really nice ladder that TruForm designed for us, but we wanted to use this space differently. This is where the ladder was, just leaning against the wall. So we've stored that elsewhere and gotten a telescoping ladder instead. You saw Andy pull it out where it was tucked away there, and it comes out really easily and it's not super heavy. So because we're only accessing the loft, maybe once a week, something like that, we have just been using that. We're now up in the storage loft, and it's 5 feet deep and 8 feet wide. And as you can see, the ceiling is peaked here, so it does take away some of the headspace, but it's worked great for storage so far. We've gotten a bunch of bins, and this stores just clothes we're not using, lots of kids stuff, towels, that kind of thing, and obviously lots of clothes. We have a ton of winter gear from living in Boston, and we go to Tahoe occasionally, so we just store all that stuff up here. I think having this extra loft it's been useful, but it also has allowed us to hold on to things that maybe we don't need to hold on to. So it's kind of a mixed blessing having this storage loft. I think in the future it'll be a challenge to kind of sort through what we have up here and get rid of more stuff, and then also kind of fun to see what we do with it next.
So one of the things that we thought we would do when we got the tiny house was build a big deck, right? Because it's amazing, you can double your livable space by having some outdoor area, 8 feet deep and 30 feet long. Boom, you've doubled that space. Because of the sort of shared space we have here with my mom's house, we didn't go that route. We kept our porch small, and part of that's because we have so much amazing outdoor space here at my mom's house. So Isla and her cousins get to play outside all the time with this big play structure. We have sort of the shared garden space here. We've also added a veggie garden over here. Isla's telling you that she loves Birdie, our old vintage Land Rover there. That's her favorite feature of the whole yard, I think. But we also have worked along with my mom over here to make the shared space more livable. So we added the big stock tank kiddie pool here. So come summertime, instead of having the plastic kiddie pools, we put a foot or so of water in here, and the kids have a very durable but nice looking play space. We have the big shared outdoor space with the fire pit here. We also do a lot of dining al fresco, so we have the big table here with the umbrella that we can bring out. Our house coming in here coincided with a lot of home renovations that my mom did. So we sort of have been mutually beneficial there. Our house is plugged into her house with the 50 amp power. You see that she has the solar panels. We all like sort of this dark gray color, so our houses really complement one another, and we have sort of this communal courtyard-like space here. And then a big part of community is also keeping the neighbors happy. That's always sort of a tricky thing with tiny houses. They're not always 100% legal, depending on where you are. So one of the things that we did was work with some of the existing neighbors here to actually build new fences and higher fences. So even though we have a standard height fence along the front, we've gone with an 8-foot fence with the lattice in the back, and that gives some more privacy for us, but it also sort of protects the neighbors from us, all part of just keeping the neighbors happy. So we're gonna start off talking about the deck here. With TruForm and this sort of style model of home, the deck here is, I believe, 5 feet by 8 feet, and that actually folds up into the space. You'll notice up here by the French doors that it's recessed about 6 inches from the standard width of the house. That means for transport, the house actually folds up and latches in place. It has adjustable legs to set the height on it now. We lived with it like this with just the deck space for the first year and a half that we were here. And then we finally, in the last couple of weeks, decided to let's sort of make it look nicer. And so we've built these areas here to sort of hide underneath, but also to give us more practical space. The original plan here was to build a big planter box. Once we got it erected, we realized, hey, you know what? That's more storage. So we've added these big storage lockers here. We have some outdoor carpets that we can roll out when we have friends over for picnics or play space, as well as some sports equipment. We have a few more of these under the house for seasonal things like boots and other things we just don't want in the house. So when we have people ask us about, what's your tips for adding storage to a tiny house? One of the things that people don't always think about is using under the deck or under the house storage space. Those vacuum seal bags, big waterproof containers are perfect for getting things that you don't need often out of the way. Part of the plan for this was to use these concrete blocks that are usually used for making raised planter beds or gardens. The beautiful things about this is when we want to move the house, these things can actually just lift off and unstack, and that makes this whole setup portable. With that folded up, the house can then move right out. You'll notice that we went one higher here. One of the things that we're probably going to do in a future project is stack these up over here, and we can actually continue that wood around here as a skirt. That's something that a lot of tinies just don't have, are sort of nice skirts that blend in to hide underneath. And so these add sort of an easy way of adding that and giving it a sort of finished look. It also keeps balls and pets and kids from going under the house, which is nice. This is just spray painted roofing material, so we'll probably do a hybrid of the wood and the roofing to hide off the tires. All right, so over here, this is sort of the business end of the tiny house, as I call it. We have our two 12-pound propane tanks here. That's cooking gas for our Dickinson Mediterranean stove and oven, as well as heated water for our precision temp on-demand water heater. We also have a battery here that runs some LEDs as part of our solar ready setup. So if we ever want to go fully solar, we actually have LED lights and a second power system set up for that. This is where our separate composting toilet initially vented out. It's pretty common for a lot of different builders, not just ours, to have their composting toilet venting right here. The problem with that is, like, we have these northerly winds that then is pushing smell around. So for as effective as the toilet is at keeping smells to a minimal inside the house, it sort of defeats the purpose if it's venting here below your window or, you know, up to the skylight and around to the front door. So this was like a really easy addition that we did and anyone else can do. Getting the conversion pipe and then 3-inch PVC to then just vent this separate around to the back of the house. So now any sort of smells from the toilet come this way. You're still minimizing the number of 90-degree angles and the distance, which keeps up the cubic foot per minute, the airflow. So that's an easy thing that a lot of people can do. You'll also see right down here, that's our 50 amp power cord, and running along with it there is an Ethernet cable. Rather than just relying on Wi-Fi, we picked up a 100-foot long Ethernet cable, ran it off the modem in the main house, and so we have our own independent router and Wi-Fi set up inside the house. All right, so our fresh water actually comes in right here. Our water heater sits just inside here under the bathroom vanity, so that's fresh water in. We also just have a garden hose running this way. Our wastewater comes out here. Unlike some tiny houses or RVs, we don't have any black water. The urine is separated in the composting toilet, and then that mixes with water from our dishwasher, clothing laundry machine, our kitchen, bathroom sink, and our shower and bath. And all of that comes into this, so it's a gray water setup. There's no need to empty RV tanks or anything like that. And so to handle that wastewater, what we did here was set up what's called a French drain or a gray water drain. And so this is about 4 feet deep, 4x4. So we have a lot of cubic area here. The bottom of that is layered with hardwood charcoal that's just sort of untreated. And then we layered some untreated mulch on top of that. And then there's pea gravel on top just to make it easier to access. We have these two buckets that are stacked on top of each other there. And then I just use a simple pool filter drain bucket like that. So it's a pretty inelegant but very simple sort of foolproof system. This gets all of our wastewater back down into the groundwater, which you can see the citrus are actually like thriving and loving on. We try to be pretty good about soaps that we use and things like that and what goes down the drain. But it's also pretty easy to maintain given the filter basket here. You just get rid of food waste and things like that. All right, so we have a Lennox mini split ductless AC and heat pump in our house. This is a pretty big luxury to have, but we absolutely love it. This is one of those things, adding this at the time of the build, you'll save thousands over adding it later. We don't get crazy hot summers here, but when it's 95 out or if it's humid, it's awesome to be able to just turn that thing on, and it really effectively and efficiently heats and cools the house. We use it during the summer, mostly for AC, but during the winter time, it's great to just set that on to like 75 when you come down in the morning and quickly warm the house, and then you turn the thing off. It's pretty quiet. With the stands that we have under the house, it minimizes the trailer wobble or the shaking that you feel. We don't actually sleep at this end of the house, so the noise isn't ever an issue for us. It does have a dedicated breaker here, so it's easy to shut that down if you ever wanted to, or if you're like going off grid and you really want to minimize power, you can avoid using that. But for us, it hasn't been an issue. Thanks for watching the tour of our tiny house. It's funny because when we put the house here, our plan was that we would find land within 6 months or so. But really, the situation that we've had here, being close to my mom and watching that relationship with her and my daughter, has been amazing. So we sort of stayed longer than we planned. But that's sort of like part of tiny living, is adjusting the plan and making it work. You know, as we look forward, our future holds probably a more traditional house, but we'd love to keep this space as a guest house or potentially as an Airbnb. But
yeah, we feel like we've developed a sort of commune with family, and it's a little bit hard to picture leaving and what that would look like, but we are excited about the prospect of moving to our own piece of land, but keeping the tiny house and using it as space for family and friends to visit, and or potentially an Airbnb too.
Yeah, and you know, for us, the process of starting our Instagram, which is 3 Tiny Hams, was all about being a resource for other families and people that were thinking about going tiny. As we started that process 1.5 years ago now, or 2 years ago with the planning, it was hard to connect with other families that were doing it, and we found a lot of really helpful people on Instagram. And so being a part of that community, you know, we just want to say reach out to us anytime, whether you're thinking about using TruForm or a different company,
or just have questions about you know, living with kids in a small space. Yeah, there are ways to make it happen. So, and we're happy to answer any questions or be a resource in any way.
So definitely reach out to us on Instagram. We also have a Facebook page, but we tend to use Instagram more. That's another thing. So a craft that we've all taken up recently has been making ceramics. Living in a tiny house, we don't have space for all of the things that we're making, like these mugs here, or planters like this. So you can check out our Etsy store, Tiny House Ceramics on Etsy, and buy some things that don't fit in our house and help us out. Links will be down below. Check out our Etsy store and our Instagram. Hit us up on either of those and reach out. Yeah, love to talk to you.